If you struggle with making actionable change in your life, then understanding the value of positive feedback loops can make all the difference. This is going to be a dense video, so let's unpack everything. So, what exactly is a feedback loop? Well, in biology, a feedback loop is nothing but the process whereby a change to an existing system will trigger a certain result. And this result will further either increase the change, which is a positive feedback loop, or dial back the change to achieve its original state or homeostasis, which is a negative feedback loop. For now, we just need to focus our attention on positive feedback loops. And for the sake of illustrative purposes, let's look at an example in nature which is honestly quite fascinating. If we look at an apple tree with many apples, seemingly overnight, all of them will turn from unripe to ripe. And it begins with the first apple getting ripe. When it does so, it produces a gas called ethylene, which causes even more apples to ripe, which produces even more of the same said gas. And it just follows this domino effect, and you can paint the rest of the picture yourself. Carrying this concept over into human behavior, every time you do an action that promotes change or provides satisfaction, the more likely that you're going to do that action again. So I'm going to use my experience with training as an example. So this is what I used to look like 2 years ago, and this is what I look like now. Every time I see myself in the mirror, I feel proud and satisfied with the time that I spent working on myself. That's positive reinforcement of my actions through visual change. And this visual change could be noticed by the people around me, my friends and my family. And that gave me a sense of validation and status, which contributed even more towards the positive reinforcement that I was feeling, which made me want to do it even more. I don't say any of this to brag. I really hope that I don't come off as braggy. Instead, I hope this to be inspiring because maybe you are in the same position that I was in 2 years ago. And all I want to say is that if you think it, it's possible when coupled with the right actions. But here is the unfortunate and obvious catch, which is that when you first begin training, you won't notice any of these differences. It only begins to take shape when you actually invest a lot of time and effort into yourself that you actually start to notice these changes. So, tracing back to that Apple story, even though they seemingly turn ripe overnight, it takes more than 100 days for it to go from flower to fruit for it to even reach that stage. In the same way, with regards to training, it took me consistent work of 2 hours a day, every day for 3 months straight, while keeping my diet fully in check for me to start noticing a slight change in the way that my t shirts were fitting me. That's a lot of time and effort to put in, especially when you don't see the results immediately. So, the challenge here is this: we need to minimize the friction or the time that it takes for these positive feedback loops to form for each of the actions that we wish to embody in our daily lives. How do we go about it? Well, it's hard for you to see the change immediately. So, the next best thing that you can do is track the change. When you are tracking your progress, it is a visual indicator that you are in the right trajectory for change because progress is the greatest motivator of all. So, the link in the description will give you access to a very useful and simple habit tracker that you can just print out and use. And I highly recommend doing this physically instead of doing it on a software because doing it on a software simply won't give you the same effect as it would when you are literally checking off those boxes as you complete the desired habits for the day. It also helps to stick it on your wall so that you are constantly reminded of the habits to do for the day. The habits that I have included are meditation, gratitude journaling, and exercise. You can add anything else that you want to it, like playing an instrument or learning how to code. But I do think that these three habits are foundational to your self improvement journey, and everyone should be doing these three habits. I think my favorite part about this is the fact that in order to check these boxes, all you need to do is show up to it. So, a minute of meditation, or a sentence of gratitude journaling, or three push ups, even, is enough to qualify as I did it and check off those boxes. It's about doing the bare minimum. And trust me on this, most people don't even do that. And you doing this makes you get ahead of most people. And in doing so, it'll motivate you to like keep pushing further up ahead. Imagine what your future self would be feeling a week from now, just looking at how many boxes he checked off. And imagine the motivation that you might be feeling then to do better the next week. And then the next week, you would be aiming to do better the week after. And the cycle just repeats. That you've formed a positive feedback loop already. So that's just touching base on positive feedback loops. Um, I do have more videos where we are going to be discussing concepts like this, similar to this, more in depth. But I just wanted to give you guys a small teaser of sorts. So thank you so much for watching the video. I truly appreciate all of you if you guys made it this far. Anyways, that's about it from me today. As always, I'll catch you guys the next time. Philly Wonka out.